In this lesson, we'll dive deeper into working with colors in CSS. Now, we might have mentioned that there are at this time over 100 named colors in CSS that we can choose from when designing our website. What happens if we want a very specific color? Well, we have to introduce what we call RGB. Computer monitors, TVs, smartphones all use what we call RGB color to display colors. RGB is short for red, green, blue, meaning that brightness value of each of these three colors will define how our color will turn out when combining them. There's 256 possible brightness values for red, 256 for green, and 256 for blue. So if we do a bit of math and we multiply these value combinations all together, we can get a total combination of over 16.7 million color combinations. That's a lot of colors to choose from. Without getting into much detail, let's dive into how we can get these color in code by using a system called Hex Colors. To define a color in code, we use what we call hex values. These values specify different brightness levels of red, green, and blue. A hex color value starts with a hashtag and is followed by 6 hex values. Different hex values can create different shades of color. Now you might be wondering why we use this system called hex. It's short for the hexadecimal numbering system. Hexadecimal represents a system of counting using 16 values from 0 to F, which is counted from 0 to 9, then A through F. Converting this to the normal decimal system, it's 0 to 15. How do you represent 256 levels of brightness for each color red, green, and blue? As you can see in the format hashtag RR, GG, and BB, you only need to use up to 2 number places in hexadecimal for each one of them to represent 0 to 255 in decimal. It's a different way to count numbers, but let's not dive deep into that for simplicity's sake. After all, there's a shortcut method that will spit out the hex value pertaining to the color of your choice. More on that later. So what is hashtag RRGGBB? Well, each character has a value from 00 to FF to represent 0 to 255 in decimal. It specifies color intensity, or the brightness value. RR is the placeholder that represents the values for red. GG is the placeholder that represents the values for green. BB is the placeholder that represents the values for blue. So if we wrote FF for red, as in hashtag FF0000, we get a red color. If we wrote FF for green, as in hashtag 00FF00, we get green. Lastly, if we wrote FF for blue, as in hashtag 0000FF, we get blue. If we set all the values to 000000, that means that the lowest brightness setting for all the 3 colors, meaning no light will be displayed, and that means pitch black on our screen. Now, if we set all the colors to the maximum values FF, we get white. Now, you might be wondering how to get colors in between the values of 00 and FF, or just getting colors at all. You'd think we have to do some arithmetic or understand the whole hexadecimal numbering system. Fortunately, we do not. To get the hex values for the colors we want, we can simply go online and use Google's color picker tool. So to do this, just open up a new tab for google.com and type color picker in the search bar. Drag the slider or click around to find the color you're looking for. Once you find a color you like, copy and paste the whole hex value into your CSS file as a value in the color property. It's as simple as that, no math needed. So why do we use hex? It's the system and format that the web browser can easily understand colors. It makes sure that the web browser knows what color you want. Color is consistent across all web browsers. Also, using this method, we have access to a much wider range of colors that we can choose from. Looking at the example below, we can see that in our code, we wrote that the body color is red, which will display the generic red color. What happens if we wanted a darker shade of red? Well, as you can see using the code on the right example, we used a color picker and chose a darker shade of red. We copied that hexadecimal value into our CSS file, and it gave us a very specific darker shade of red. At this point, you've learned how colors work in much more detail. So let's dive into changing our website's background color using CSS. The background color property modifies a selector's background color, not its text. It's entirely different from the color property. When we type in the background-color as the property for our selector, it'll refer to the background of that element. So if we wanted to change the background color of our web page, we'd refer to the body element, as the body contains everything in our web page. If we change H2 or H1, it'll change the background for those elements as well. You can see the example on the right. Try doing it yourself and play around to see how the background color property changes the look of your website to get a feel for it. Lastly, the property can take two types of values: a color name you can choose from 145 preset colors, or a hex value from the 16.7 million color combinations from your color picker. For further learning, please head over to the assignment section on Replit. It'll give you a great practice activity and further instruction on how CSS hex colors work.